Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Our Simple Story. I'm here with Shawn, and we're going to learn all about Shawn today. It's kind of a different video, not going to be a lot of fancy editing or anything. It's going to be more of an interview.
So I'm Shawn. I'm 19 and I just joined the United States Army. At the moment, I'm still in basic. I got about 3 weeks left and it's pretty good enjoyment.
Pretty good enjoyment. All right.
Yeah.
Shawn is my nephew. We kind of converged for the holidays, for Christmas and New Year's, and had some time off from work. And he has a kind of unique circumstance in that he started basic training. When did you start basic training for the Army?
September 25th.
He had kind of unique instance where he got injured in basic training and had to get pushed back and kind of recycled a little bit. So his basic training actually overlapped the holidays. And so he was given 2 weeks leave and our paths kind of crossed. And I've known Shawn, just since he was very, very little, obviously. So it's kind of neat to see him come out of basic training and he's got like a month left, right?
Yeah,
And
roughly.
so I wanted to sit down and make this kind of a different video where I pick his brain. The point of this video is kind of twofold. There are people like myself who went through basic training for the Army. For me, it's been right at 20 years now, since really this is like my 20th anniversary going through Army basic training. So first and foremost, I wanted to kind of allow people, old timers who went through basic training 20, 30, 40 years ago, to kind of glean from him and to see what has changed, what has not changed. There's a lot of, opinions out there. Second of all, people that are about to go to basic training, I want this to be a good informative video for them, maybe so they can learn some tips, some tricks, some things that they might do to be better prepared for their basic training experience. So I just wanted to have a conversation with Shawn here and just kind of pick his brain about what he's been through with Army basic training. Army basic training is normally, depending on where you go or what you experience, for me, it's kind of like an accelerated basic training. It was like, I think it was like 7 to 9 weeks or something like that. Like with reception at the beginning, with like in processing, it was like, that was like a week and a half. And then the actual basic training was just like a little bit accelerated. I think it was 7.5 weeks, where we actually did training on Sundays and stuff. We didn't really take a day off. But yeah, what made you, I guess we'll start with this. What made you want to join the Army?
So honestly, it's been a life dream. I've been dreaming about this since I was a little kid, 7, 8 years old. And I'm like, I want to join the military. It seems cool. At the moment, only 1% of the U.S. population is joining the military.
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
And we have like 375 million people here in the U.S. It's a lot of people, but that 1% is very lucky in order to join the military and get through basic.
Yeah.
Basic, even 4 years ago, was completely different to now.
Sure. So tell me, what was it like? Well, first of all, what's your MOS? And for those who don't know, your MOS is like your specialty job, what you're going to be going on to train and learn as a profession within the U.S. Army. What's your MOS?
My MOS is a 91 Bravo wheel-based mechanic.
Okay.
Mechanic, so working on Humvees, LMTVs. There is designated MOSs to be working on other vehicles such as Strikers, but there's a possibility of me working with those vehicles as well, since they're all wheel-based.
And so you went in, you enlisted as a E3, and you got a little bit higher pay grade because I think you did Civil Air Patrol, and that counted as like military training. So they gave you a little bit of a pay raise with E3 PFC. So you enlisted and you shipped out. Where's your basic training station right now?
Basic training is in South Carolina, Fort Jackson, outside of Columbia.
Good deal, good deal. So for those maybe who are about to go to basic training, Fort Jackson, maybe you can pay attention and learn some pertinent information, some details, and some tips about what basic training is like at Fort Jackson. Now, when I went basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, 20 years ago, it was all males. There was not a female in sight really for the better part of like 3 months, but that's different for you at Fort Jackson. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Right as we get there to reception.
What percentage would you say, just if you had just put like an overall average, what percentage are males versus females?
I can actually give you the proper numbers. Okay. There are 230 people in my company. There's roughly 1,400 people in a battalion. And roughly out of those 1,400, there's probably only 300 females.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, so crush numbers on that. So it's definitely still a vast minority of the soldiers are females.
Absolutely.
So you did the in-processing, you did reception. What was it like? Did you get in a vehicle and then transition into the actual basic training?
Basic training started, so we had reception. We got there September 25th, and we went through 2 hurricanes within a week. And then we went to my station where I was going to be with my battalion,
Okay.
439, and we got on buses, and roughly a 20-minute bus drive around Fort Jackson, we got to a track full of drill sergeants and drill sergeant trainees.
Okay.
Drill sergeant trainees wanting to be drill sergeants. So
Okay.
they're all NCOs. They're getting ready to go to drill sergeant school, and it's basically basic training all over again for them, but just a little bit harder.
Okay. So you're looking out the window of this bus, and you see all these people. You see all these drill sergeants in their Smokey Bear hats and everything.
Funky looking hats.
Yeah. What goes through your mind when you see all of them standing there?
My idea is we're about to get screamed at.
Yeah.
There's going to be running. There's going to be teamwork.
Yeah. So they like, was one of them go on the bus and say, "Everybody get off my bus," blah blah blah. And
oh yeah, they're cussing at us. They're screaming at us. They're like, "Run the track." We ran the track once, and the track's a quarter of a mile long, and I'm in OCPs and wearing brand new boots that aren't broken in yet, so my feet hurt.
And from what I understand, they don't do the full on like multiple drill sergeants shark attacking one soldier or multiple soldiers.
So how they used to shark attack, and you could probably go through shark attacking, from what I heard from the drill sergeants that we have nowadays, and like we're able to have one-on-one conversations with them as well. Like that wasn't a thing 7 years ago, or that was just a recent thing. You could have like a one-on-one conversation with your drill sergeants and they would be fine, but like the entire company or platoon, you can't have that.
So instead of the shark attack, it was more just like this group running, stressing you out, kind
stressing us out,
wearing you out before they brought you into the barracks, or something like that. This first week or two of basic training is a lot of like, from what I remember, and tell me if it's different now, but like a lot of drill and ceremony, a lot of smoking, like physical smoking, where it's like calisthenics. They're forcing you to do that. A lot of group
corrective action.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of group punishment going on. Is that still the thing now?
So the first 2 weeks is roughly our training. So we do all of our physical training there, which is our victory tower, our fit to win, obstacle courses, and gas chamber. Gas chamber is an absolute nightmare. It's CS gas. It's worse than tear gas.
Yeah.
It's a chemical that reacts with moisture. So
yeah. I remember very very well the gas chamber experience. What did you do? I'm curious, maybe those who are watching are about to go to basic training. What did you do, if anything, physically before you shipped out for basic training to prepare yourself, like physical fitness wise, to kind of help soften the blow of experiencing the first few weeks of basic training with all the smoking and everything?
So to be honest, I was quite lazy before basic training. So
as was I.
I wasn't running. I wasn't doing any push-ups or nothing. I was just
so you just kind of went into it like around. Cold turkey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That first like physical fitness test, or that first like PT experience, how did your body feel after? Was it pretty like shocked, or was it?
It was a nightmare. The next morning, it was hard to get out of bed. It was brutal. It was hard to move, and like that first day, you get off that bus and you're running and doing all this exercise for like 5 hours, and you're just working out, and they're getting us used to the military standards.
Yeah.
The next morning, they're like, "Yeah, we'll take you, and you guys can go wake up at 6 a.m." I'm like, "Sweet."
Yeah. What's the average like? What's the average like bedtime?
So average bedtime is 2100. So people who don't know that, it's 9 o'clock at night.
What's the average wake up like? Especially
average wake up. Average wake up will be roughly 0500 to 0530. The very first morning that we woke up, right after the like 5 hours of just introducing themselves and them smoking us and all this, they said that we were going to be able to sleep in and be able to wake up at 6 a.m. It wasn't possible. They came in with air horns. They came in at 4:30 in the morning, waking us up and putting us in the CTA. Some of us walked out just in socks without shoes on. We're trying to tuck in our PTs and trying to grab our camelbacks.
And your CTA is your common training area? Is that what it stands for? Okay.
So common training area.
Is this kind of like where the common training is, where like all the platoons come together And if there's any like classroom instruction or anything, or any kind of like quick instruction, or just kind of like a formation, is it at the CTA?
Yep.
Which is like kind of near or below your bay, your barracks?
Yeah, roughly.
So let me ask more about the physical aspect of the physical exercise aspect of it. What has been so far, like in terms of running, what has been the longest? So I know a lot of my viewers are into running. What has been the longest run that you guys have done so far in basic training?
We actually have done a 7-mile run in about an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, all right. Now, during these long, like platoon or let's say company runs, at least my experience was that they broke them into different groups, like group A, B, and C, based on their speed or skill level. Is that still something that happens now?
Yes and no. So the first couple times that we did a company run, we did a full-on company run. It's all the platoons. We have first, second, third, and fourth sitting there, and we're getting ready to run. Everyone, all the cadre, even company commander, sometimes even the battalion commander would come and run with us, just depended on what he was doing, where people were. They're busy. They're always busy. They're basically designated babysitters for us, just training us.
Totally.
And yeah, we'll run sometimes with the whole entire company, but at some points they do individual platoons, and they allow the platoons to run their own pace and whatnot.
Yeah, okay. Obviously, the Army combat fitness test is kind of different. Tell me what events are in the Army combat fitness test?
So the Army combat fitness test is called the ACFT instead of the APFT.
Yep, APFT, yeah.
That's how it was roughly, what, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yeah, it's changed probably, 10 to 12 years ago, I think. I'm not sure.
The ACFT has a sprint drag carry. You run 25 meters, come back, and then you pull 90 pounds, and then you run back. Side straddle hop all the way to the line, run back. Then you grab 45 kettlebells, run there, run back, touch the line again, and then sprint all the way back. That's our sprint drag carry.
Okay.
Brutal. Absolutely makes
that sounds like it would get your heart rate really elevated.
Nightmare. Like even the drag whenever I'm doing it, and I know I have okay legs and they're pretty strong. It's brutal. It hurts. We have our deadlift. The deadlift goes from 180 pounds to 340, and I've seen dudes easily be able to lift 340.
Okay. So you're actually like in a deadlift. You have a deadlift like
it's a hex bar.
Like hex bar, yeah. Interesting.
So you
just do as many.
We do 3.
You do 3 reps. Okay.
3 reps.
So you can start. So the scoring on the deadlift is based on the amount of weight, not on the amount of reps.
Correct.
So you do like 1 rep. You're like, okay, I think I could put on 25 more pounds, and you do another rep. Or is it like, can you?
So we have about 7 to 8 hex bars during this ACFT, and they all have those weights already on them. So we pre-make it the night before.
Okay.
The ACFT, we set the ACFT all up the night before.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the ACFT, and it depends. They'll break groups up and like let them do the sprint drag carry or the deadlift first or the 2-mile run. It just depends. Usually sometimes they'll actually just do it in order. They'll like do the deadlift first and then the sprint drag carry, and then they'll do a ball toss. It just goes all the way down. And I mentioned ball toss. It's a 10-pound ball,
medicine ball.
You squat and then you have to throw it behind you.
Yeah.
And if you pass the line or do anything, you're terminated.
So you've got that whole set of events is like the sprint drag carry, you got the deadlift, you got the ball toss,
2-mile
run. And that's timed as well. But I would imagine, like back when it was just the APFT and it was like push-up, sit-ups, 2-mile run, 2-mile run time was probably way more stringent because you didn't use your legs as much as like the sprint drag carry. So now that you're doing the sprint drag carry and then a 2-mile run, I imagine the grading's a little less stringent because your legs are probably just whooped by the time you're actually doing a 2-mile run.
So with me, with my age, in order to get 60 points, it's like 22 minutes.
Okay.
For 2 miles.
What is it in order to get it? I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. Was it in order to get 100% on a 2-mile run? What do you got to get at your age, which is 18, right?
13 minutes.
13 minutes.
I'm 19.
Wow. So that's still quick to
Yes.
get 100 percentile on a 2-mile run.
We've had people break it.
Wow.
We've had people get at least 12 minutes.
So then you any pull-ups or anything like that?
So we have hand release push-ups.
Okay.
So you'll start in the push-up position, and then you do a push-up, and then you get back on the ground, and then you spread your arms out, and then bring them back in, and then push up.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
How many of those you got to get? And it's 2 minutes, right?
so it's a 2 minutes. You have to do 2 minutes, and
For you to get 100% on that event, what do you got to do?
I think it's 54.
54. Okay. So you got to be moving fast then, because hand release push-ups take like 2 to 3 times longer than a normal push-up do.
And they hurt. You're lifting your entire body weight up.
A lot of action like in your delts and stuff. I think that's the intention there, is that by throwing your arms out, you're activating your delts and your shoulders more than just your chest and your triceps and your traps and stuff. So you're activating like a whole another muscle group. So yeah,
we try to go for the most. It's like we have our blue books, which is our like study material that we have to know what basic training is exactly like, and we can read it whenever we have time.
It's kind of like your basic training Bible, like.
Yep. And it has all the scores in there, and people are like, oh yeah, I can do the minimum. Don't do the minimum. It's literally the worst nightmare that you could ever have in basic
Why is that?
training.
Just
because they don't
frown upon.
If they frown upon, they don't do their best. You do your best and you try your hardest, you'll be able to get through easily.
Yeah.
That last ACFT will be a nightmare for people when we get back.
Yeah.
Because they're probably all sitting in their house right now, probably sitting with their family, and I understand.
Eating a lot
of junk food,
Christmas Twinkies
drinking,
and stuff.
They're probably smoking too.
Yeah.
All that experience and all that exercise that you just built for 7 weeks is just gone in 2.
Not you though, because
running.
I took him on a Noah and I did 6 miles. He did half of that, the 3 miles. We ran to his house and picked him up, and then ran 3 miles back, and then we did our animal walk, which is a video. Maybe I can put a card up or something like that, but it is a video that I've made on how to do the animal walk. And how did you feel after that? Was that good?
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. I'm probably going to be sore tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. So you're going to stay in shape. So you're going to get back to basic training, top notch, good shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then after, so with fitness, it's sprint, drag, carry, deadlift, 2-mile run, ball toss, push-ups, and plank.
Okay. How long? So switching off of like the fitness aspect of it now and the fitness test. How long did you guys spend doing like drill and ceremony? Because for me, it was like 2 weeks. It was actually something they put a lot of time and effort into, but I would imagine maybe it's shorter now.
Whenever they have time, whenever the drill sergeants have time in order to do it. So whenever we're
big emphasis then.
Whenever we're done with kind of training for the day, they'll be like, all right, we still have like this amount of hours that we have to do stuff.
It's kind of like a filler.
Yep, it's a filler. So the first week, there was hardly anything. We do training with our weapons, which the designated weapons now are M4A1s. Those are your full auto instead of burst. It's like the M16s were burst instead of full auto.
Yeah.
But they're also semi-automatic, so.
But it doesn't sound like you spend a whole lot of time camping out on drill and ceremony for a designated week or 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Tell me about did you spend any time doing like small unit tactics, like infantry kind of stuff, like where you're learning
like positions and fighting positions?
Like they call it FM 7-8, where it's like, small unit tactics, like how to move as a formation, like in a wedge in the tactical situation, or how to.
Absolutely. So like you just said, the wedge formation, that is a very, very well-known thing to me now.
Yeah. Which
I have never ever heard of. Wedge formation is probably one of the most powerful fighting positions that you could have. It's easily able to be learned, and you have equal firepower everywhere.
Yeah.
In that wedge formation, you'll have your alpha team in the front with roughly 5 to 8 people, and in the back, same exact thing with Bravo, and then you'll have your squad leader and your radio person in the middle, including the medic, in case it's needed. It's easily distributed. You'll have.
So they're still teaching you those small unit tactics and everything. Are they did you spend any time doing like urban warfare, like they call it mount training, or did you spend any time like going into rooms or clearing rooms or anything like that?
So no, you could actually go to classes for that.
Yeah.
So like AIT is your learning class, like you need to learn
specialized,
that. Specialized. You could have a ranger contract, an airborne contract, air assault, you're jumping out of helicopters and going into a building to clear it. Mountain, there's jungle, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff.
You get more specialized as you get, especially in the infantry world. Now you learn some small unit tactics, but it sounds like it was more like in an open, like wooded environment or something like that. But you learn kind of the basic principles of that, even though you're going into mechanic world, which I think is still good that they teach you that. But and you're obviously you're qualifying on your M4. Now my day was like an M16A2 that we qualified on. With the M4, does it have any sort of like optics on it, or?
So first off, you'll get iron backup sights. So it's just, it looks like a AR-15 that you buy from a gun show. Okay. But instead of the back sight being up all the time, it's a flip. So you would just flip it up so it doesn't get damaged. Those rear sights are like $150. They're
so you still had to take those out and sight them in and everything in basic training. And
so every single weapon, those weapons have probably had hundreds of thousands of rounds put through them before they even get to us, the new trainees. And those weapons are zeroed into the last person that had them. So if you have someone that was 5'2" and it was a female, and you give the rifle to a guy who's 6'4", like my height, the weapon's not going to be zeroed at all.
The way they hold it, their vantage point is going to be totally different.
You're going to go to a range. You're going to go through several ranges during your phases. And with white phase, it's all marksman. You're shooting rounds, free rounds that you get, which it's kind of nice for us to kind of let off that steam that we've been building up from all these crazy people just doing things wrong in the first couple weeks. And we're able to zero our weapons into a 25-meter range first, and we get silhouette bodies with targets stapled on them, and we got to zero them in. It's a 25 to 300 zero. So if you shoot at 25 meters, dead center, you're going to hit center mass. And if you shoot at 300 meters, you're still going to hit center mass. It's like the physics where if you hit one target here, but you want to hit a target in the middle, you're going to have to go lower because the bullet arcs. Gravity, physics.
And also just the spin of the projectile coming out. It's like
absolutely
the rifling of it. Let's talk about ruck marches.
Ruck marches.
One of my favorite topics to talk about and relive and memorialize. Tell me like the weight of the typical ruck march you guys would do in base training.
So they have different ruck marks. Ruck marches go from all the way to the hammer to the forge. You have 3 in total. Of like the ones that you need to do.
The ones that are like a no or no go, there's 3 official ones.
Correct.
But you probably have a lot more in between there training you for those. Like you're probably rucking out the training sites and stuff
Absolutely.
like that.
And the first one is called your hammer. You'll get roughly 25 pounds in your ruck. So that goes all the way from your equipment, such as your pro mask. We don't have night vision because they're like 10 grand each. They're expensive. So like I said, your pro mask, which is your gas mask, your equipment, like your shovel, your sleeping bag, canteens filled with water, of course. So that's an extra like 3 pounds. So it's roughly 25. With your camelback, it's going to be at least 30.
Do they issue you camelbacks?
Yes, they do.
Oh, that's nice.
So you keep your camelback all the way.
We got like a 2-quart canteen that was like more like a kind of went over your shoulder, and then like 2 1-quart canteens. But that's nice because it kind of hugs your body a little bit better and snug. What is that like? What's the average? I mean, did you guys jog any of it, or was it just like just moving fast, walking fast? What was the average?
So it's actually average pace for a mile is 23. 23-minute pace. With 30 pounds, they want to make us go at least an 18. But you gotta remember, all these short people, we got taller people. It's going to be a nightmare trying to keep up.
And the drill sergeants are out there rucking with you. Is that right?
Absolutely. So of course we have to have our water buffalo. We have to have our LMTV, our Humvee out there carrying our MREs.
Or people that fall out or something.
And people who fall out.
Do you see that a lot? You see people falling out?
Falling out because of shin splints. The first hammer that I did, We had someone step on a rock wrong and break their ankle.
Ooh.
And that was rough.
Yeah.
And they're carrying a 35-pound pack, and they're carrying that M4 in their tap system and their helmets.
Yeah. So you just go down hard.
It sucks seeing them go down, especially a battle buddy that you've been with for a couple weeks and get to know them, and you're like.
Now, a lot of these ruck marches, at least I remember, they were done in the pre-dawn hours. So yeah, like you stepping on a rock, like you that person probably couldn't see where they're. Is that still the case where they're doing a lot of these ruck
it depends.
marches?
So the very first hammer that I did, it was in the middle of the night. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. We woke up, we're getting ready, and like 30 minutes later, we step off. We step off in the middle of the woods. We're like where my CTA was like 500 meters into the woods. We just walked.
Okay.
And that was a 5-mile ruck, and we
guys have like headlamps on or anything, or
no, we're not allowed to. It's noise and light discipline.
Oh, interesting.
To make sure like enemies are in the area. It's like to make us feel experienced and get us experienced.
So is everyone carrying an M4, or there's some people who are like saw gunners, or they have like a 240 Bravo?
So everyone's carrying an M4.
Okay.
My second hammer, that's when they brought out 240 saw. They're not allowed to have any belt-fed live ammunition anymore on Fort Jackson.
Okay.
All it is just blanks.
Sure.
With 240 saws.
You guys also have like body armor on? Like
yes,
we call them IBAs. I don't know what they call them.
IBAs, we call them IOTVs. So our plate carriers go from generations. We have first generations all the way up to 5th generations.
Okay. So those are adding some weight and retaining a lot of body heat and chafing and everything else?
We don't wear them until our last ruck march, which the last ruck march is 10 miles into the middle of the woods with our IOTV, our tap system, 35 pounds on our back. With our M4 and helmet, it's roughly going to be at least 45 pounds to 50.
And it's a 12-mile ruck, is that right?
10 mile.
10 mile, okay.
10 mile ruck.
So what was that like at your first ruck march? You're wearing newer combat boots maybe? Like did you get a lot of blisters? Was it hard to break them in? Or?
What's crazy is I actually broke them in. Like the ones that I had when I got off that bus were brand new. The ones that I was wearing in reception, I broke those in within the first couple weeks at reception.
Okay.
The first couple days, sorry,
so that's nice. So anything like high impact stuff like ruck marches and stuff, you're gonna be minimizing how many blisters you get and stuff. And did you get any blisters from any ruck marches or?
Nothing. Wow. Nothing yet. I know how to step properly. Yeah. It's like certain people step with their heels. You step with your toe and then bring your heel down.
Okay.
With the ruck marches, it's kind of like running, but you're walking.
Now, during any of these ruck marches, do they simulate like snipers or artillery fire or anything like that, where you have to peel off on either side of the road? And
so whenever we're rucking and we need to stop, we'll post security. We don't do the artillery or the snipers until we get to our lines.
Okay.
Where we're going to be spending the next couple days or the day or a night.
And they have those like little, I can't remember what they're like, little canister grenades they throw out, and it sounds like an artillery round exploding, and you're.
So yeah, it's like a little canister. It's I'm pretty sure it's
like a flashbang or something.
I'm pretty sure it's an M80 firecracker.
Yeah.
It's very
like a
loud.
Whistling noise, is it?
So we'll actually we call them simulators to simulate those sounds.
Yeah.
They bring propane oxygen tanks out, and they'll have what looks like a cannon. It's not a cannon. It's a box that fills up with the gas of propane and oxygen. And it mixes, and all that compression comes out, and it ignites, and it's a big boom.
Oh, wow.
But they also have, it's like firecrackers. I can't remember what they're called, but it's basically like a little firework that makes a to imitate the sound of artillery.
Falling artillery shell, yeah.
Yep. And whenever we hear that sound, we yell incoming. We have to hit the ground face first in the dirt. I've seen people get back up and have like cuts and stabs.
Yeah.
And they're just bleeding from their mouth.
Taking it real serious, yeah.
Taking it real serious. And we like to impress our drill sergeants. We try to do the best. There's some people that are just downright lazy and just don't even get to the ground.
So let me ask you, kind of talking about your week, and do they give you a day off? I guess that's maybe Sunday. Are they mandated to allow you to go to a worship service or something?
So Saturdays and Sundays are kind of our break days. Saturdays we'll sometimes come back from a ruck march. We'll sometimes go for a run. We'll do a little bit of training, not much. We barely have trainings on Saturdays unless you got like a weird schedule by your battalion. They gotta do.
Maybe you gotta make something up. Or
yep.
So what do you guys do? You just hang around your bay and
hang around, clean. We mess around a little bit, do physical work, work out in the bays. We got weights. We got.
You guys do like lawn maintenance or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
We consider that. They consider that harassment.
Really? Okay.
Yes, hazing.
Wow. Okay. That's changed. I distinctly remember pulling lots of weeds.
Yeah, that'll probably be a thing in AIT for some people.
In fact,
for
I remember walking by a private using a pair of scissors as he was trimming the grass along the sidewalk. I distinctly remember that. So are you guys allowed to go to like a church service or worship service on Sunday mornings or Saturdays or both?
Yes. So Sunday mornings we'll have from 0700 to 1200.
Okay.
Is our worship. We go to different churches. It goes from Christian to Protestant to Baptist, all the way up.
So you got all kinds of different worship services.
Yep.
Are those led by military chaplains or led by local pastors that are volunteering, or kind of a mix?
It's a mix. Okay. It's definitely a mix.
Do they provide transportation for you to get to those places, or?
So we'll have buses come and pick us up. Some actually have to be, the company has to drive you. So we'll have vans designated to each company, and they'll stuff us in a van.
Okay, a couple more questions, and then I'm going to wrap up here. It's getting hot. It's crazy that it's
definitely getting hot.
December 27th in South Florida. I'm breaking a sweat sitting here, but thank you for your time, by the way. But phones. Now, when I was in basic training, there was down beneath our bay, there was a row of about, I don't know, 5 or 6 payphones, and you had to use a calling card to call your loved ones, and you had about 10 minutes every Sunday to call who you wanted to call and check in with them. I think it kind of stretched out a little bit, like 15 to 20 minutes, depending on who's waiting in line behind you. What is it like now? I mean, there's no payphones probably, right? Those are kind of obsolete.
No, absolutely none. But we've seen old payphone boxes at some of these battalions, and they're not being used, but we'll have our personal phones and boxes throughout the week, and then on Sundays, if we've earned enough time, they can't not give us phone time.
Really?
So it has to go down to a minimum of 10 minutes.
So you have your phone with you throughout the week?
No.
Oh,
they go in boxes, and they go into rooms. They lock up the rooms.
Gotcha. Okay, so you take the charger and the phone, you put it in a box, they lock it in a room.
Yep.
Nobody has access till like Sunday morning, you said?
So Sunday afternoon, after everyone gets back from religious services, and we relaxing, and we've done all of our cleaning duties, they'll give us time. They'll do bay checks. They'll see if like people have gotten counselings, which is our paperwork that we've gotten in trouble for.
Yeah.
They'll do all this, and they call out some names. They won't. It just depends on how the company acted throughout the week. Sometimes it reacts with the phases. So we'll have yellow phase, red phase, white phase, and blue phase. Blue phase, you get at least an hour and a half of phone time. That's like
interesting.
That's the max that you can get.
And they have a designated Facebook page for your particular unit.
Absolutely.
And then they post things for your loved ones to be able to see back home.
Absolutely. So when I was on my phone last time, last Sunday before I got here, I FaceTimed my family, and my mom was taking screenshots and posted it on that website.
Gotcha. She was pushing them out to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Talk now to someone who's watching, who's about to go to basic training. What would you tell past Shawn, who's a couple weeks away from shipping out to basic training? What would you tell that past Shawn to do better to be more ready for basic training?
Definitely something that I've learned is don't be a smart aleck. Don't be like, hey, I know everything, because I've done that, and a lot of people will just dislike me for how I've done it, trying to help out. But after letting them be and letting them have their own experience, they come up to me later and they're like, hey, can you help me with this? And I'm like, yeah, but like, here's the thing, you should have asked me from the start, because you wouldn't be having this problem now.
Yeah. So kind of like learn to mind your own business, would you say?
Yeah, so learn to mind your own business at first, and then like ask people for help. You need to learn that on your own. You You need to at first work as a team. You need to work as a team from the very start. But once you have people that are just don't care and just are very disrespectful to the whole platoon, even individuals, one-on-one harassment, just leave them alone. You can report it. You can do, if you are honestly bothered by it, tell a drill sergeant. We have a lot of those experiences where they just don't tell anybody, and then they get more and more, and then they cause an issue where it ruins their career for the military. So
I remember another component of basic training that really frustrated me. I love being in control of my own life. I remember in basic training, we were not allowed to have watches. There's only one person in our platoon that can have watches, and that was the platoon guide, which I think they still do that now, right?
PG, yep.
PG, yeah. And I remember I became the PG for my platoon in basic training, like week 3 or week 2 into it. And I was allowed to carry a watch. And that was just, it felt so empowering to have a watch. But I would say flexibility and adaptability, just allow surrendering control over to authority is a big thing in basic training. And for those who are older going to basic training, that's a lot harder to do because you already kind of have your rhythm and your routines, and you're kind of set in your ways. So to go into basic training, this highly controlled, highly micromanaged environment is tough to kind of give over that control and surrender that to the higher ups. But what would you do physically, physical fitness wise? What would you do different to prepare for, if anything, for basic training?
You definitely need to start running.
Running a lot?
Running, absolutely. Those 2-mile runs, it kills people. They're doing like 25 to 30-minute 2 miles. It's rough for them because, especially for those people who have been like smoking before they get in.
Yeah, because you got to quit smoking, drinking, chewing tobacco. There's none of that in basic training.
Nothing. So quit now.
Quit earlier before you get in there. It's like less hardships on your body that your body has to adapt to.
We had trainees that I was talking to before we came on VBL, our vacation, victory block leave, and they're all talking about how they're going to get drunk and how they're going to smoke, and it's just, why would you do that? Your body is getting used to this basic training of not having that stuff. Why would you do that? So do that stuff in AIT.
Sugar is a big thing that our bodies have to withdraw from. Like, are you allowed to have sodas and stuff like Cokes and?
Absolutely not. We like get water, electrolytes,
coffee, electrolyte powders.
Can't have coffee.
Really?
Caffeine. Caffeine has a big problem.
A chemical dependency that you go through withdrawal. I had to go through the withdrawals on and experience that during basic training, and that was awful. That includes a pounding headache and vomiting. So yeah, it's like before you get into basic training, if you could kind of develop some of these habits, get rid of some of these addictions before stepping foot into basic training, that would definitely kind of flatten out the learning curve for your body for sure. Anything else that you want to throw in there for tips for people doing basic training?
Start doing the sprint dry carry. I've explained it. Definitely go back into the video, early part of the video. I definitely explained it. That's a nightmare for people. If you start now and you start very early on and you do that first ACFT, we get awards for doing ACFT, and we getting high scores on the ACFT. We get like little flags. We get a little bit more phone time, like personal phone time.
So they kind of incentivize it for you.
Yep. So they'll allow you to get rewards for doing good in your training. It's just,
you got to work for it.
You got to work for it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Definitely learn your discipline. 3 things that I've learned since I've been there: right uniform, right time, right place. You follow those 3 things, and then you follow your equal opportunity and your sharp, you're good. If you follow those 3, you'll easily go through basic training.
Yeah. I kind of remember mentally going into like a Simon Says mode. Like you don't move, you don't do anything, you don't say anything until that you hear the Simon Says, or in other words, the drill sergeant says you can do it. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I wanted to just have Shawn on, and you're going back here next week. You're going back to basic training, right? Fort Jackson, you're going to finish out the month. And dude, I just really wish the best for you, and I want you to finish strong. And I know I'm super proud of you, first of all, for doing this and getting this far. It's awesome achievement. Like you said, 1% of the American population can do it. Something like I don't know, I heard the other day 60 to 70% of American males would not qualify for military service right now, which is frightening. But you're there, you're like the 1%, you're getting through it and you're doing it. And stay strong, man. Keep your head nose to the grindstone, or whatever the saying goes. But you're going in, you're going to do grenades. What else you got going on training wise?
So we have Team Buddy live fire, like you said, grenades. Yeah. Grenades are an absolute nightmare. We're going to come back and we're throwing 3 of them, and we're all going to be dumb and stupid. Yeah. Someone's going to drop one. It's very likely. We all know
someone will forget to pull the pin before they throw it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you'll have a live grenade downrange. Only the instructors are allowed to go down, and it takes like 20 minutes. The range gets shut off.
Yeah.
I've heard fun stories from other people and drill sergeants.
You got grenades, another big ruck march, live fire stuff, and then you graduate.
Yeah. So
awesome.
People who get to blue phase, there's a lot of recycles or a lot of chapter 11s in blue phase because they're carrying live rounds on them by accident, or they're not doing stuff properly with the grenades, or they're getting injured in the forge, which is our 10-mile ruck. Yeah, it's difficult for people to get through blue phase. Yeah. It's worse than yellow phase. It's worse than reception. It goes by quickly, but if you do it properly and you do all your training and safety properly, you'll be able to get through it pretty easily.
Yeah, it seems like you're on the right track. That's awesome. And you graduate. Now, where you go to AIT, where's your duty?
My AIT is in Fort Gregg Adams, Virginia.
Awesome.
And then after that, more than likely, it's Germany for 3 years.
Nice. That'll be exciting. Do that traveling overseas stuff while you're young and childless.
Yeah.
And you can be flexible and see Europe, you know. That's cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. As I stated in the beginning of the video, I have a fun announcement I want to make. By the time I post this video and upload this video, I'm going to be starting an additional YouTube channel that's going to be focusing on, you notice a lot of the questions were about physical fitness and everything. I'm going to be branching off of this main channel where you're watching this and creating a channel called Our Simple Fitness. So it's going to be a lot of running, calisthenics, where I'm not going to be pretend to be the expert on fitness, but rather talking to people about their fitness goals, experiences, what they do to stay in shape, interviewing people, teaching you some very simple fitness tips and tricks and habits, and just learn together through that channel, Our Simple Fitness. So I'm going to put a card up or a link down below. If you don't mind, please go over there and subscribe to that. I would really appreciate it as we grow that channel as well, and it kind of takes a turn and focuses on one particular aspect. So, Shawn, thanks, man.
Pleasure.
Congratulations again, and thank you for your service and your willingness to join the Army. And I know you're going to have a lot of good years ahead of you. So,
yep.
Thanks, man.